Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're reading from the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, text number 10. How many of you have had a chance to read the Bhagavad Gita? Anyone? Okay. Well, I hope you will. Okay, Christina. Good. Yeah, give me one moment. I'm just checking on something here for a moment. So the Bhagavad Gita, for those of you that are new, was spoken 5,000 years ago, 3000 BC, on a battlefield, the battlefield of Kurukshetra, a place that exists in India even right now, near New Delhi. And it was spoken between Krishna and Arjun. Krishna is his charioteer and Arjun is the warrior. Krishna has taken on this role even though he's a king at that time. He's taken on the role of a charioteer, A, out of humility, and B, out of trying to keep the peace between both sides. But long story there. I won't get into the backdrop of the Bhagavad Gita. We'll dive straight into the teaching, the philosophy, and we'll go from there. So, chapter 4, text number 10 says, being freed from attachment, fear, and anger, being fully absorbed in me and taking refuge in me, many persons in the past became purified by knowledge of me, and thus they all attained transcendental love for me. So there's a lot in this verse, and a lot of people think that when it comes to God, that all they need to do is either follow a guru, a savior, do some practice like, that Krishna, no, that's not how it works. There's an actual scientific process that leads to being able to actually connect with God, to connect with the essence of life, the source of life. And that happens by becoming freed from attachment, fear, and anger. Those are the first steps. So let's take each of those first. Becoming free from attachment. What is attachment? What are we attached to? Would anyone like to talk about that? What are we attached to? What are you attached to? Whoever, feel free to speak. Are you attached to your house, your car, your dog? Are you attached to some loved ones? Are you attached to your body? Are you attached to your thoughts?
Say my thoughts.
Your thoughts, okay. That's a big one for most people, right? We're attached to our thoughts. We believe our thoughts to be true. We believe, therefore, that what we think is right. Anyone suffer from this disease? We all do. We believe that what we think is true and right. And where does that thought come from? It's generated by our mind. Where did our mind get that from? It made it up. Yeah.
We've been brought up with it too.
Yes. Yeah.
We've been taught to certain things.
Mm-hmm. Like
So,
what?
well, we've been taught since we were kids, as we were growing up. We were taught how to behave. We were taught certain beliefs. We were taught, how we were supposed to be.
Correct.
What was right, what was wrong. We were
Exactly.
taught there was a right, there was a wrong.
Correct. Exactly.
And then that was built into who we are,
Exactly.
or who we believe we are.
Yeah, we don't even know who we'd be without that.
Yeah.
We have no idea. We were taught there's a certain way to walk, a certain way to eat, certain way to dress, all of that. So in some countries, but you'll see it's so contradictory. In some countries, they eat with their hands. Here, if you go to a restaurant, eat with your hands, they'll be offended, right? Some places, they cover their heads. The women are totally covered, and here you can walk around in a mini skirt or even a bikini and be fine. Yeah, you'll turn a few heads, but that's about it. No one's going to object. No one's going to lock you up. In some countries, if you're caught kissing out on the street, you'll be thrown in jail. Here, no big deal, right? But if you have sex in public, now that you might get arrested for. But we have our own set of rules, and they have their set of rules, and we believe certain things are right and certain things are wrong, and much of it is arbitrary, or it's created by religion, or it's created by society over time, and that's all from here. Either our mind or the minds of others, or the minds of people who came before us. We're making this up, and we're attached to it. We're attached to our ideas of right and wrong. We're attached to our country, we're attached to our party, a political party, we're attached to our ideologies, we're attached to so much. But what if you freed yourself from all that? Freed yourself from your thoughts, from your mind, from your story, your life story. Just start imagining right now, peeling yourself off from all of this stuff. Imagine you didn't have a story. Imagine you didn't have thoughts. Imagine that you didn't have anything at all. Imagine that you could peel it all off for a moment. Now, you have no idea what remains. Now let's bring up the other thing that might come. Because with all these things, you've managed to do one thing. With all your attachments, you've done one thing. You've managed to overcome fear. How will I survive? How will I live? I need all this. And that fear, the need for security, for safety, is the driving force. Right? If I don't have family, I'll be alone. If I'm uh, without money, how will I manage? How can I live? Fear is at the heart of it. So now imagine peeling away the fear. Imagine if you let go even the fear of survival, the fear of, well, if how will I manage? What remains? Anyone want to try guessing? What remains? What happens if you become fearless?
Free?
Hmm?
Free?
You become free. Wow. I thought you took a declaration of independence to be free.
Free from your thoughts, free from your worries, free
That's
from
right.
fear.
Free from thoughts, free from worries, free from anxiety, free from depression, free from the ups and downs of life. Whether things go up or they go down, you're not attached either way. You say, but this is not possible. And I will tell you, you are absolutely right. It is not possible. Then why talk about it? It's not possible for this to do. The mind will always do what the mind does. But this state of becoming free from attachment, fear, and anger, that is a state that is naturally attained, naturally the state of the soul. The soul is by nature fearless. It is not attached to anything. Who you are is not attached to anything of this world. When it leaves the body, it knows it's not going to take anything with it. None of this ever belonged to you or me or anyone. It knows that. So it is naturally unattached. It is naturally fearless. So there's a part of you that can do this effortlessly. And there's a part of you that can almost, you could say, practically cannot do it. So now what to do? The only way that spiritual seekers and people who have really worked on this issue have found is that if you can tame the mind, quiet it through various practices from yoga and meditation and kirtan, and so many different things. If you can quiet that mind, you will be able to access the soul. And that awakening of the soul will then cause you to be able to live from this place of fearlessness. It is possible. And the good news is that any and all of us can do it. So I keep coming back here to reinforce that point, that it's not something that's impossible to do. There's a story of a sage called Valmiki. I don't know if we've ever discussed this, but Valmiki was a gangster. He was the kind of person who killed people, stole their money. You know. So one day he accosted some saintly people, monks who were walking past his area where he used to hold people up. This is thousands of years ago. And was about to kill them and take whatever little they had. And they said, all right, why do you do this? You could kill us. It's not a problem. We're not worried about being killed. But just so we know, why do you do this? He says, I do it for my family. Oh, really? Would your family be willing to take the karma of what you do? Because you're killing people and there's some pretty heavy karma for that. And Valmiki says, I don't know. I have no idea. He says, all right, why don't you go and ask them? He says, well, I'll tie you guys up. So he ties them up to a tree and he goes off to talk to his wife and kids. And his wife picks up a stick and says, get out of here. Yeah. Of course, you're doing your duty. What do you mean take your karma? How dare you say such a thing? You're doing, what you're supposed to do as a husband, as a father, as a provider. Whatever karma you have for that is yours. And so this poor man goes back to these saintly people and he says, it's all on me. I guess they're not going to share the responsibility. He realized that that's not the life he wanted to live anymore. So they said, okay, well, there's one way to get free. You chant the name of Ram, chant the name of God. One of the names is Ram. So chant this name, just say Ram, 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 Ram. The guy says, I can't do this. It doesn't come to my mouth. It's really weird for me. I can't. So they said, all right, there's another word in Sanskrit called Mara. So if you think of R-A-M-A and then reverse it, well, to the syllables, reverse the syllables, it's M-A-R-A. Mara means death. He says, that I can say. Death, that's what that's my thing. That's what I've been doing all these years, killing people. So he begins to chant Mara. Mara, 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 Mara. Are you hearing what happened? It's starting to sound like Ram, 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 Ram. And that's what they wanted him to chant in the first place. So this guy who was a gangster, murderer, killer, in the many years that he kept chanting this mantra, became so purified, he ended up writing one of the greatest texts of Indian spirituality called the Ramayana. And it was the story of the life of Ram. And he just became such a highly evolved being, he could receive all that information and write it down. I'm just saying that anyone and everyone can be transformed by these processes. There is no limitation on what we're capable of. So if you take that to your heart, then you'll find it becomes possible. And if you believe it's not possible, then so it shall be. So Krishna says here, being freed from attachment, fear, and anger, being fully absorbed in me, taking refuge in me. So being fully absorbed in me. Now he's referring to himself as the divine, as God. He's been claiming this all through, and even at some point goes on to prove that. So taking refuge in God, however you see God, however you understand God, whether you see God as light or energy, or you see God as a being, whether you're Christian, Hindu, Muslim, or whatever, it doesn't matter. If you see God in nature, you see God in people, or you see God as a separate being, however you see God, but being fully absorbed in God. That's the point he's making. He's not talking about believing. He's not talking about faith. He's talking about meditation. Being absorbed in something is meditation, whatever you're absorbed in. So I'd love to find out, where do you get absorbed in something? Anyone like to share? What is your place of absorption? Where do
I
you
do with drawing.
with drawing? Okay.
Hmm.
And do you lose track of time when you're drawing?
Oh yeah, you just get into it.
What else can you say about that? When you're in it, what's it like? How does it feel to you?
You're just kind of in that zone of that's the only thing that's there at that moment.
You got it. Exactly. That's the only thing that is there in that moment. That is it. And that takes you into the zone. That zone, that's the point of meditation. You see, Christina, you found it while drawing. Some people find it while running. Others find it various activities. Musicians might find it in music. Many people find it in sex. Others find it when they're doing something that they really enjoy, cooking. It just depends. But all of these are meditations. All of them, if you dive in fully, they will take you into that zone. What is the zone? What is that zone that you go to, Christina? Does anyone else have this experience too?
I would say it's like concentration in a way, because you're focused on that thing.
Yes, totally. But remember this, that your focus, that's the concentration part. That's the part of you being focused. So think of your attention being focused to a point, right? And now when you're at that point of complete absorption, you go into the other side of it. So think of an X, right? There's this point below, and there's the V above. You go into this other state. That's what you call the zone. That is possible through a range of activities, and that is the point of meditation. Now, what I would suggest to you is try it out in other parts of your life. If you can do it in drawing, do it while cooking, do it while speaking to someone, do it while eating your food, do it while drinking, do it while showering. In any and all activities, find your access into that zone. That zone is the spiritual energy of which the universe is made. So meditators find it just by focusing on their breath, chanting a mantra, singing in kirtan. They find it in that space. They're not even doing anything, just breathing. And that zone is available just with that. So try and do it in all activities so that then you'll begin to find it everywhere all the time. This is the energy of the universe that you're tapping into. This is the presence of God that you're tapping into. And therefore, there are some feelings associated with it. You said that you experienced an absence of time, right? What else do you experience? Anybody else have an experience similar?
Can I ask a question to Christine? When she's thinking about drawing, does she become like part of the drawing? Like she's so into it that she's in the zone that she actually becomes part of the drawing?
Well, drawing, it's funny because I like drawing because it's all about seeing, not seeing what your brain thinks it's seeing. Like a person's face, is round. But if they're turned to the side, it's no longer round, it's oval. But your brain at the beginning might try and draw a round face, but you have to block all that out and just draw what you're seeing, like not what your brain is trying to interpret. So it takes a while. It could take me 20, 30 minutes to really get into like the zone where you're just like in it. Like nothing around isn't like you're not. I don't even think I hear anything really because I listen to music, but after a while, I think even that goes away.
That's not the way, exactly. Arjun, as an archer, would have that experience that he could zone in, he could tune in so much to an arrow when he was going to fire an arrow that the only thing that would exist would be the object that he's trying to fire at. the only thing that would exist. Everything else would blur out. I'd have the same experience when I was writing. So this is something we can all tap into, and it is the point of of all meditation. So when he's saying here in the Bhagavad Gita that becoming fully absorbed in me and taking refuge in me. So now, as you learn this from one part of your life and bring it to all parts of your life, as you begin to understand that that zone you're entering into is the presence of the divine, and that presence immediately is a place of transcendence. You transcend the world. You're no longer, the sights and sounds of the world fade away. They're there, they're happening, but they fade away. And you're in the presence of something entirely different.
Sounds like a hypnotic state.
Yes, it is somewhat of a hypnotic state. Absolutely. But a hypnotic state is not the same. A hypnotic state is sort of the beginning levels of this. You're in a relaxed place. You're able to access your subconscious. That's the deepest level of hypnosis. But now this is going even further. You don't, because here there's symptomology that will help you understand it. In this place that people call the zone, you will experience feeling peaceful, feeling relaxed, feeling even happy for no reason at all. Not the happiness of getting a new job or buying a car or a house or whatever, but a peaceful kind of happiness. We call that joy. You will experience a sense of being expansive, of being open, of being free. If you start to look for words to describe that state, these are some of the words that will come up. So what it really means is that you are really in an altered state. And I personally find it to be beyond hypnosis. I practice hypnosis as a therapist, but I find that it goes way beyond that. Um, so yeah. So now, once you understand that that zone you're going into, that is the presence of the divine. See, that place exists within you. When you connect with your soul, you breathe, you meditate, you come into your body, you will feel this presence within you. That is peaceful, calm, kind, loving, compassionate, fearless even.
Can I ask a question on the zone, just in my experience with it? Um, I'm thinking of Arjun having the bow and arrow and just fixated on the target. I'm going to jump into like a hero's journey. You just imagine he's nailing it every time, right?
Yeah.
What if he's missing it constantly every time? So then turns the practice of the attachment of the results right there. So this is one thing I find with the zone is when I take things I do every day, like I feel like I design for a living and I feel I'll get into the zone, time will fly by. And I'm not consciously celebrating results, but if like I'm consciously liking it, I start to feel all the elements that you would say is attached to being in the zone. If I'm missing it, if I'm failing, I could start, unconsciously the results start like bringing me out of that. So it's interesting. It's like I could start attaching that to so many things I do, because surfing, I'm going to be in the zone surfing, and of course I'm a guy that loves surfing and just like, but as soon as so I'll get on a wave and just flail and absolutely suck on one wave, and then I'm out of the zone because I'm frustrated from the results. So I could keep going with that one. So I just keep coming back to meditation. It's like meditation is just really the piece where I'm like, okay, I could start thinking these things are getting me there, but it's kind of out of my control. I got this unconscious that I'm sure I need to work on because I'm attached to results.
Great. Yeah, that's the problem. You're attached to results.
Right.
Because as soon as you're attached to results, you're going to get out of the zone. As soon as you start liking what you didn't do or not liking what you did do, you're going to get out of the zone. Because the zone, as you describe, as we're talking about, is a place where duality does not exist. Therefore, liking and disliking does not exist. The moment you go into that, you're out of it, right? In that place, that is a place where there is non-attachment. The moment you go into attachment, you're out of it. So all these things come together. If you want to be in that place, remember that place, you're connecting with the divine in that space. That is a sacred place. You could be surfing and you may think, oh, surfing is a divine thing. Yeah. Your surfing is just like you like somebody praying at a temple or church or mosque. That's prayer. If you're in the zone and if you understand that that place is where you connect with God. I know people in Tantra, we practice this as well, and that is another way that you come into that presence. That is through sexuality, through the body. So there's so many ways to do this. The foodie can go there through while eating food, but there's an art to eating that food. I call that it's about savoring. You learn to do it in such a way that it's not about the quantity, it's not about a whole ton of stuff, it's about diving deep into an experience so deeply that the experience no longer, the thing no longer exists. It's not about the surfboard, it's not about the drawing, it's about that place. And you know what? You'll keep wanting to come back there to recreate it. I say expand it, go into all the areas of your life and bring it there. I've experimented with this. I'm not just talking something theoretical. I've experimented bringing this into as many areas of my life as I can, except when I'm filing taxes. I fail at that moment. I can't do it. I have to be logical and I have to look at all those things, numbers, and doing numbers, I'm not able to do it. But other than that, pretty much most things, yeah, it can be done. I just want you to know that. The next thing he says there is becoming fully absorbed in me. So this is that absorption piece. And taking refuge in me. So this is where we take shelter of the divine. We actually begin a process of trusting that which created us has got our back, is there for us. We learn to surrender. We learn to come into a place of trust with the universe. What that means is that instead of being in a place of fearfulness where I've got to survive, I got to take care of everything, you trust that everything's going to be okay. There's a movie I saw. It's called the best exotic marigold hotel, and there's a line in there where he says, "It's all going to be okay in the end, and if it's not okay, then it's not the end." But it's that feeling that you carry. That's what he means, taking refuge in me, trust in the universe, trust in God, that it's all going to be okay. No matter what's showing up, no matter how chaotic the world appears, you deepen that trust. And I find that the more I've done that, it really gets like that. You start to develop a deep deep feeling from within that it's going to be all okay. That no matter what problems are showing up, they will pass. And it's no longer from here, but it's more from here. It's this deep trust in the divine. You begin to see step by step, you sort of test that and you begin to see, wow, things did work out. And again and again and again. And gradually you develop this trust that it will all be okay. And then you begin to live not from a place of struggle, but from a place of feeling safe no matter what the world throws at you. It's a very powerful place to feel safe within yourself, not based on something external. Has anyone had an experience like that?
Yeah, that happened to me also when I am surfing, but after the session. So I am surfing and
Yeah.
I'm not getting the wave. Sometimes I get it. I feel good. But after the session, that I am in just watching the waves, I feel very joyful. And detach of everything. And I was thinking about that when you were asking about this zone. But one exercise that I do with my mind is, because I feel like very joyful, and doesn't matter what is gonna happen tomorrow, or doesn't matter what happened.
Exactly.
Doesn't
Yeah.
I am in the zone, but I realize that I am there, and my mind start like, what if this happened?
Mhm.
It's in that situation, when I feel like that, it's very like, oh, don't worry about it. Something inside of me is very easy to, don't worry about tomorrow. Just enjoy the view. And it's like two parts of me that is happening, and yeah, that goes away if I don't go very often to the beach. So that's,
Mhm. You said something wonderful, that feeling it comes to you, that sense that it's all going to be okay. And that feeling, there are two parts of you. One part of you is naturally fearful, and the other part has no fear. So our journey is really to go from here to here. How can I go from my head to my heart? That's the journey.
yeah, but it's very difficult without the setup.
Yes.
Maybe
So here's the reason it's difficult is you're trying to do it by yourself. And what Krishna is telling you in the Bhagavad Gita is you have help, you have support. You take shelter of me, take refuge in me. I will support you, I will help you. You can do it yourself, there's no problem. Or take shelter of the divine, of God, and allow him to help you. The 12th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, that's exactly what he says. He says the path of the yogi is a path of sort of doing it by yourself, and you will get to the divine just by that. Or you can surrender. That is the path of devotion. And on that path, you are given help and support because you're in a place of surrender. You're in a place of helplessness. You're like a child calling out to its mother. Like when you have your dog and the dog doesn't, wants to be fed or something. So it's helpless. It cannot do it by itself. It depends on you. So dogs know how to do it. We can learn from them. Being fully absorbed in me and taking refuge in me, many, many persons in the past became purified by knowledge of me, and thus they attained transcendental love for me. As all surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects. In this world, people desire success in fruitive activities, in karmic activities, and therefore they worship various demigods. Occasionally, quickly, of course, people get results from their karmic work in this world. What are the demigods we worship in this world? See, now there's the traditional concepts of demigods like you have in India where they worship Lakshmi or Durga or something and say, oh, give me this, give me that, give me that. And here people even worship God, asking for their needs and desires to be met. But there's a lot of other demigods, so to speak, if I may use that term a little more broadly, that we worship. What are they?
Money.
Money, yep, that's a big one. The stock market might be another, right? We look to them to provide for us, to care for us, to take care of our needs, to fulfill us. What else do you turn to?
Approval.
So then other people, right? You're looking at other people to give you approval. Yeah, we all seek that. We always look up. What is your deity? What is it that you look up to give you a sense of well-being, a sense of wholeness, a sense of fulfillment? What do you look up to? For many people, I would say it's their mind. It's often other people. Yes, you're right. But it's also your own mind. You are, most of us stay waiting for our mind to give approval. How often does it do that?
It's
How
not
often
very
does your
generous.
mind, huh?
It's not very generous.
It's not very generous. That is true. That is so true. Our minds tend to be very hard on us, aren't they? What would be an
Yeah,
example of your mind being not generous?
a lot of judgment.
A lot of judgment, exactly. What else?
Simply saying I can't or something like that.
So limitations, yeah, yeah. And then maybe causing you to doubt yourself. You can't because you're not good enough. Something is wrong with you. Other people are so much better, right?
About your parents.
We seek their approval, right? Yeah, parents, bosses, friends. I'd like to welcome Asta, a dear friend and a very highly spiritual evolved person who I've known for many years. She just joined us for the first time. Welcome, Asta.
Thank you, Rohit. Thank you so much. I always appreciate your words. I don't know how much, I live up to them, but yes, thank you so much.
Asta has
And
her
I'm
own podcast as well. I believe you're
signing
doing
in.
a podcast on spirituality recently. You started something?
Yeah, yes. Loving yourself, love yourself.
Okay.
I'm sharing all kinds of fun things on how to get that awareness bring that awareness into your life. So, we start out with a basic awareness practice, and then my next episode is going to bring in a mantra, basically, like, similar to Om chanting, which you can manifest, you basically focus your intention on as you chant. So you manifest what it's a process, obviously, and it takes dedication, at some level. So, but this is what I'm sharing through my podcast. Yes. Love yourself on all the channels, Anchor FM, Spotify, Google
Thanks.
Podcasts.
All right. Thanks for
Thank
joining
you.
us. Yeah, so
Thank
we're
you.
continuing with the Bhagavad Gita here, and I'm so glad that you're able to join us. We're talking about the path of attachment, fear, and becoming freed from attachment, fear, and anger, and becoming absorbed in the divine, in God, Krishna.
Right. Which is a big thing in the Gita, has a lot to do with the teachings.
So the last thing we read is about people desire success in their karmic activities and therefore worship their various demigods. You'll see that in India a lot. And of course, I was talking about what are the demigods we worship in this world. It could be politicians. Sometimes we bring them, exalt them, and we want them to kind of fulfill our desires. In fact, many of them prey on us by doing that. They will say, oh, I'll do this, I'll reduce the taxes, I'll do this, I'll do that. Then, of course, they let us down. But we keep falling for them every time, right? And so you have to consider, what are those things that I hold in high esteem? Some talked about our parents, some talked about getting approval from others, our own mind for that matter. Let's keep reading. The next verse, chapter 4, text 13, Krishna starts to talk about something slightly different. He talks about, according to the three modes of material nature and the work associated with them, the four divisions of human society are created by me. And although I am the creator of this system, you should know that I am yet the non-doer, being unchangeable. So at that time, they divided society into four parts called the Varna Ashram system. There was the Brahmins, the Kshatriyas, the Vaishyas, and the Shudras. The Brahmins were the priests, the Kshatriyas were the warriors, the Vaishyas were the business people, and the Shudras were the laborers, the workers. Now people think, oh, that's the caste system. No, it was never the caste system. It was based upon, and that verse very specifically says it, Chatur Varna Maya Srishtam Guna Karma Vibhagasha. That the Vibhag, the division of society, was based on guna and karma, Guna means your qualities, your aptitude, and karma means your actions. So based on your qualities and your actions, society was divided, not according to birth. That's where they corrupted the system and created the caste system. That came later, and it came because people did not understand books like the Bhagavad Gita. They were not being taught to the mass of people. And in that ignorance, the priests could twist around the teachings and make it whatever they wanted to make it. So the idea here is that we all have a certain certain quality, a certain gift, a certain temperament. A lot of folks now ask me, what's my purpose in life? I want to find my purpose. You know, your purpose is written right in you. It's in you right now. Your purpose has always been there. It's the gift you carry, that unusual part of you, that uniqueness in you. Right there is what it is. Now, taking that and learning how to maximize that is what is what the path of finding your purpose is all about. Your guna, your qualities, your aptitude is already in you. You have certain skills, certain things that you're good at, which are unique to you. It's a big topic to get into, but it took me the first 40 years of my life to figure out what my purpose was. I was so oblivious of it. I often say it's the thing that's right in front of your nose. It's right in front of you, and you often don't see it. But it's that part of you that is intrinsic to you. I was doing ever since I was a kid, of 14 years old. I was listening to people talking, helping them with their problems, the kids of the neighborhood and stuff. I never thought that's something you do. I never thought that's a career or something like that. I just thought it was something I do. What's the big deal about that? Now, on the other hand, you may have someone, let's say like Asta, who's a dancer and who's known her calling for a very long time and has been following it. But there are many others out here who might not know their calling. But to you,
Oh,
I would say this. Yeah.
no, sorry to interrupt. That took a while also. It doesn't come that easy. You know, you can't,
How old were
some,
you when you discovered that the dance was your thing?
I was in LA. I was a graduate of UCLA and with a technology degree.
Okay.
So I
So
was
you
working
started
as a consultant at
that's in your
Deloitte.
20s. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I was about 23 or 24 out of college. So yeah, it was still fairly early in my life that I could make that shift and, you know, and be successful in that, you know. Yeah, sometimes it's a lot later that you discover it. But yeah, it's not that easy, you know. It's not like, yeah, it's like when you're picking a major at college and, you know, a lot of people at that age have that question, you know, what's my calling?
So for each of you, I would say, taking from this verse from the Bhagavad Gita, look at what your natural calling is. You've been doing it all along. You probably do it easily and effortlessly. That's one symptom. It comes to you naturally. You may not have thought that it's a career, but what if it was? What if you actually took that and turned it into something that really, where you lived, something that you would be passionate about? But they say it's a big topic, so I can't really get into it right here. But that's the idea that he's talking about. Then he goes on to say, there is no work that affects me, nor do I aspire for the fruits of action. One who understands this truth about me also does not become entangled in karmic work. Okay, so there's a really important principle in here, and it's been referred to by some people as above, so below, meaning that our archetypes really matter. What we think of, see, a lot of people say, let's just get rid of the notion of God. There's no God, there's no such thing, forget it. Okay, fair enough. What is it that you look up to? You'll eventually find something to replace that. It could be a teacher, it could be a guru, it could be a musician, it could be, it could be, I don't know, someone you'll look up to. And then that person becomes your sort of archetype. And you'll start to want to try to dress like them, behave like them, talk like them, etc. What if that person is somehow flawed, as most human beings are? So the idea Krishna is bringing out here is you look to that which is the highest state of consciousness. Who or what is the embodiment of that highest state of consciousness, and then place that as the archetype that you follow. If you have someone as Krishna as your archetype, as that which you follow, as if you understand that this is the incarnation of the divine, of God, and you then begin to follow in his footsteps, you realize that this idea of not being attached to the fruits of your results, which seems so difficult to do for all of us, becomes easier. You say, even he is not attached to the fruits of his results. Oh, how does he do it? How does he manage? So I'll tell you this, the concept is very deep. There are a lot of people who, for example, reject God, but don't realize that they are still following the same principle in their day-to-day life. Whether it's our courts, which have judges that judge people, they designed a God that judged people. They said that this God will banish people to hell and send others to heaven. Well, now we've done the same in our societies. We've got judges sitting out there that banish people into jails. And while other people live in beautiful homes, luxurious villas and what have you, we've created our own heaven and hell on earth. And we put the judges there to do the job for us. We've got presidents of companies. Why? Why do we need presidents of companies or presidents of a country? We're following the same principles that we have in our religious books of God as this, they even go and say Lord, God. That concept that we've created has permeated every area of our society and every part of our world. But what if God was not like that? What if God was playful and fun-loving? What if God was not attached to pomp and grandeur and being worshipped and put on a pedestal and all of that? What if God was just like we are? But was the embodiment of aliveness, of vibrance, you would learn then how to be alive, right? But because we put God on this pedestal and made God into some kind of a king and so on, we think that that's the only way to be. We all have to try to ascend to some great idea of success and become richer than the richest, more famous than the most famous. But what if it was not about that? What if it was about being alive? So in Krishna's story, you see aliveness. He's dancing, he is singing, he is playing, he is fun personified. And what if that was the inspiration that we had in our lives? To live more, to be more connected with people, to love more, to be in a place of true delight in this world. That's the inspiration Krishna brings. So consider what your archetypes are and how they might be affecting your life. And if you would like a different archetype, then take a look at Krishna and how his life, especially in the stories of Krishna, you get to see that. There is a book called, it's spelled strangely Krsna. They have something to do with Sanskrit, why they do that. And then it's got all the stories. So in those stories, you begin to see how he lived, what he did. And you begin to understand, oh, wow, this is a whole different way of understanding God. If there's any questions before we wind up, let me know. We're coming to the end of our Bhagavad Gita. We usually have that for an hour from 7 to 8 p.m. Pacific time. And then we end and start again using the same link with Loving Soulfully, which is about relationships. So we're going to actually continue for another hour on a different topic. We will close this, end this here, start again within 5 seconds. Click on the same link and you'll be back in if you want to continue the conversation. Any questions so far before we wind up? Any observations, any thoughts, anything you'd like to share?
Can I ask a question, Rohit, it's sort of a continuation on what I asked a couple weeks ago, between like those observing Shiva, those observing Krishna, because today we were talking about Ram, the being Krishna, Vishnu, it's like the same incarnation. But I know, it's thinking about the Bhagavad Gita, it being Krishna, the main character there, and then the book you're mentioning is Krishna and studying his life. I think about those who really, like you're mentioning the author of the Ramayana, who's obviously thinking wrong. I'm thinking of Gandhi as he gets shot. He's saying wrong as he, which is like, so obviously that is ingrained in like some, while others are Krishna. So it's kind of a continuation of like, okay, here's Shiva, here's like, so what about Ram? Tell me about Ram now.
See, Ram, the difference between Ram and Krishna is this. Ram is an ideal king. So if your idea is that God should be some perfect being, then Ram is for you. There's two ways of approaching God. One is that God is great, we are small. So there is a formal relationship, right? We are the servant, God is the master. That kind of formal relationship with God. Most temples, most churches, all of them are based on this formal relationship. With Krishna, what you see is an informal relationship. There is no hierarchy, right? Krishna's friends climb on his shoulders, they steal his lunch, the girlfriends meet with him in late at night, they kiss, they dance, they play. There is no hierarchy at all. Okay? So if you seek, that's the beauty of the whole Vedic understanding, is that it gives you space to be wherever you're at, to seek whatever you want. If you are a yogi, most yogis will, or Vedantists or yogis, they will go towards Shiva because he is the Adi Yogi, the original yogi, and he is their kind of guide or guru to help them ascend. Okay? If you are a person who's interested in wealth and so on, then you approach these different demigods. They are there to help you. Krishna's got everything divided up. If you want a formal relationship with God, approach Ram. That's a better way to do it. So these different avatars and incarnations, all coming from the same source. Hinduism is actually simultaneously monotheistic, polytheistic, and there's one more word. Like if you want to believe that God is the energy of the universe, you can have that.
Pantheistic.
Pantheistic, correct. There you go. Pantheistic, exactly. Thank you. So if you want to believe that God, that God is the energy of the universe, and that's as far as you want to go, you got it. You want God as a being who you can have a formal relationship, you got it. You want God as a person who you can have as your lover and your beloved and have an informal, intimate relationship, you can have that. You choose. There is no one size fits all. That's the point. And we learn on this path to respect everyone's journey, wherever they're at, to honor that, to respect that. It's not like, oh, if you don't follow this, then you're going to hell. No. We know that everyone's got to go through their own process, and everyone is seeking something different.
So this goes right into the archetypes you're talking about as an idea. It's just like really get to know those that are out there and like what works. What do you gravitate to?
Exactly. What do you gravitate towards? And but do it from a place of knowing. This is the reason I started this whole thing, is because I found that a lot of people were in the yoga community and in all of that, they were following different things. They didn't know why they were doing what they were doing. They're worshiping Durga, they're worshiping Kali, they're worshiping Ganesh, they're singing to Shiva, and they don't know quite who any of them are or why they're following them or what they're all about. So I thought it's better to start something where there's some information being given out so we can have folks get some deeper understanding. Good questions, Craig. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so we're going to wind up here. And if you're interested, use the same link and within 5 seconds, come back in again. We'll be continuing with Loving Soulfully. Same link.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rohit.
Thank
You're
you,
Thank
Rohit,
you.
for sharing your
See you next week.
See you next week.
Bhagavad Gita
See you next
into
week.
Thanks.
Thank you.